Girls of Reddit, did you ever have a guy that you wished you said yes to when he asked you out? What is the story? Well, there was this one guy who I served at the register I was working at who seemed nice and normal. He came back later and handed me his number, and I sort of wonder what would have happened if I called it. I lost the number, but I remember his name and know he probably lives in the area. Now he'll probably never ever come back to where you work, so at least you get to avoid that. Yeah, I know how working the register is. A girl once wrote "call me" on her receipt after she signed it and handed it back to me, but she forgot to put her number on it, so I just threw it away. Wasted opportunity. Lol, she was so nervous about it, she forgot the number. He didn't ask me out, but we were super close. It was obvious that we both liked each other until my friends and I were playing a game where you would have to say who you preferred to date more in the group of friends. It was my turn, and I jokingly said another guy. Of course he was so shocked, and it was only a few days later that I realized my dumb mistake. I was so frustrated at myself that I didn't talk to him for a long time. We talk a bit now, but he has a girlfriend. So much regret. TLDR. Don't be afraid to tell the truth. Edit. Fixed typo. Thanks for replies, and I do realize that this was one of the most dumbest mistake I've ever made. Sad face. I understand that some of you guys feel that I'm rude and stupid, and I can't argue with you there. On the other hand, I'm considering of telling him, but I'm afraid that it'll spread like shitty gossip. Anyway, thanks for the replies. Edit 2. Just a note, I jokingly said another guy because I was afraid of what my friends thought of me liking him. Sorry for the confusion. I was so frustrated at myself that I didn't talk to him for a long time. Girl logic. Well, I met a beautiful Italian architect when I was studying abroad. He kept in touch over Facebook. As soon as I was single again, he sent me a message telling me that he would pay for my flight to Vienna, where his parents live. Then we would move to his flat in Paris. I said no. My education was too important. He got married to a gorgeous Russian girl a couple months later. Their wedding was straight out of a fairy tale. I would make the same decision again, but damn if I don't wonder what my life would be like. He married a couple months later. A friend of mine has this cousin who I thought was top tier ducking gorgeous for years. I always told my friend how handsome I thought he was, but I never really spoke to him, and he never paid me much attention, so I figured he wasn't interested. Relatively recently he broke up with a girl he was dating and spent a while just hanging around me and hitting on me. I'm in a serious relationship, so it wasn't gonna happen, and he knew that, but all I could think was, where the duck was this a while back. Totally regret not being able to say yes after that long. In high school I had a huge crush on this guy, but he was one of the popular guys and I wasn't. But as luck would have it, we sat beside each other in SOF English and he must have thought I was pretty funny because he was laughing at my jokes. Fast forward to the end of the year, he and his GF broke up, and after class we held hands all the way to the bus stop. I was so friggin' shy that I bolted when he tried to kiss me. We didn't talk much afterwards. I regret being shy. Way back in middle/high school, kids didn't really ask kids out, but I did hear that a kid had a crush on me and my response was less than inviting. So nothing ever came of that, naturally. Fast forward 10 years later and now I find him very attractive, wishing I had been more open to his crush back then. Now he's married, and I'm sitting in single girl sweatpants in my apartment. Maybe I'd be in my married girl sweatpants if I hadn't been such a prig back then. Sort of, because he never asked directly. Like, he hinted at it enough that I really should have gotten the picture, but I wasn't thinking about starting anything because I was moving 4 states away in less than a week. It's 3 months later, and I still think about what could have been sometimes. A guy asked out a girl I work with a while back. She said no, very rudely. She's very materialistic. Certainly a gold digger. That guy ended up being Luke Wilson, tight end for the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. She is very regretful. At an end of summer party this nice guy gave me his number. I was very shy and kept putting off calling him because I was nervous. Then I got caught up in the excitement of starting my first year at university and I honestly just forgot about it. Passed him months later in the hallway at university and he gave me this incredibly wounded puppy dog look and kept walking. I felt terrible. I hadn't thought it was a big deal for him. I know now it's pretty much always a big deal for a guy to work up that courage. My mom was waiting for this guy to get off stage so she could interview him for Buddy magazine when this little weird guy comes over and asks her out. Her actual words were he was way too ugly. I was just too good for him. After I asked her why she shut him down, the guy turned out to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. She said that when the guy she was waiting for finally got off stage, the little guy got up and did a couple of songs. She instantly regretted treating him like that and tried to talk to him afterward. He told her I wasn't good enough for you before I played and nothing's changed. Glad he had some self-respect. I'm a guy speaking for a girl, but this story always breaks my heart. I asked a girl out while she was a waitress at a pizza place. She agreed to go out as friends, and I spent the next 6 months plus politely picking her up, taking her to lunch or dinner and doing my best to not pressure her away from me. I was in the friend zone with no signs of escaping. My boss gave me great tickets to go see the SF Giants at Candlestick Park, so I invited her. She agreed. Neither of us were baseball fans, but it seemed like it would be a great experience. It wasn't. It was freezing. We had no idea what was happening, and when I suggested we leave she agreed. I drove her home, and as I was walking her to the door I grasped her hand. The first time we had held hands. She yanked her hand back. I remember the words very clearly. It's too fast. Okay. Message received. She had moved a distance away from me, so I let things go. I stopped calling her, and she made no effort to contact me. Goodbye, Deborah. Several years later I had met somebody else, and had actually become engaged. I got a phone call from Deborah. She was hoping to get together. I told her that I was in a serious relationship so perhaps it wasn't a good idea. We chit-chatted a bit, and said our goodbyes. A week or so later I got a card from her explaining how much she regretted pushing me away, and that she considered me the one that got away. The funny thing is that I was so madly in love with her. To this day I think of her. My wife is amazing, and I'm so very lucky, but I always wonder what would have happened. In high school I was asked to go to homecoming by this great guy. I said no, because I couldn't afford a dress. I was too embarrassed to tell him or anyone else about it. He ended up going with someone else, and I always regretted not being able to go. I wish I could have said yes. This is my wife's story, but it involves me. We were high school sweethearts, and shortly after we started dating she was asked to go to a school dance by Larry Fitzgerald. She turned him down, noting she had a boyfriend. When she told me about it that evening she was surprised to hear my reaction, which was that she ducking blew it. At this point, Larry was already an athletic freak. Even in the 10th or 11th grade it was clear this guy was going on to big things. As life progressed, and my wife and I started a family, Larry's career progressed, and he continued to excel. I would occasionally remark to my gal that Larry had just hit another milestone, killing it at Pitt, winning awards and so on. When the draft approached, and he was projected as a top 3 pick, I again pointed out that she blew it. She would always respond with, "But I was with you," or "He was kinda weird anyway." When he was selected 3rd by the Cards I again pointed out how she blew it. She shrugged it off. A couple weeks later I walk into the kitchen, and she's holding the sports page. I ask what she's reading, and she just says, "Blew it," handed me the paper and walked away. The headline said something along the lines of "Fitzgerald agrees the $60 million contract." Dude, I feel really bad for you. It's incredibly hard to feel as if you're always compared to someone who's hugely successful and wealthy like him. You're not doing yourself any favors, however, by constantly pointing out the comparisons. If you keep showing off your feelings of inferiority, other people pick up on them and start to agree that yeah, your wife would have been better off with him. Work to accept yourself for who you are and make your life about you and your relationship with her. Leave him out of it, or it will just get worse for you emotionally. My friend knows someone who rejected John Hamm at the age of 12 because he was too ugly. Life really kicked her in the teeth.